What happens when a harmless party joke becomes the last straw for a marriage? Can a husband's silent response to public humiliation trigger a chain of lawful actions no one expects? When legal documents are served in front of friends, who is really to blame? Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The community event hall buzzed with the energy of Piper's school fundraiser party. Parents mingled around decorated tables, while children ran between the buffet and game stations. I adjusted my red dress, the one that always got compliments, and checked my phone one more time. Felix had confirmed he'd be here tonight. "Lyra, you look amazing," my mother Greta whispered as she approached with a glass of wine. "That dress is perfect for the cameras." I smiled, knowing she understood my plan. Tonight wasn't just about supporting Piper's school. It was about creating a moment that would get people talking. Social media thrived on authentic, spontaneous content, and I had the perfect setup in mind. Owen stood near the silent auction table, his shoulders tense in that navy blazer I'd picked out for him last Christmas. He'd been quiet during the drive here, offering only polite nods when I explained how these events were great networking opportunities. "There's Felix," I said, spotting my ex-boyfriend near the stage where a local band was setting up their equipment. Even at 35, he still had that musician charm that had attracted me years ago. His dark hair was perfectly tousled, and he wore a vintage leather jacket over dark jeans. Owen's jaw tightened slightly. "I see him." "Don't be weird about it," I said, touching his arm. "We're all adults here. Besides, this could be fun." I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. The lighting in the hall was perfect, warm and flattering. Several other parents were already recording their kids and posting stories. This was normal. This was what people did at events like this. Felix noticed me and his face lit up with that familiar grin. He started walking over, and I could feel the energy shift around us. A few other parents glanced our way, sensing something interesting was about to happen. "Lyra Quinnell," Felix said loudly, his voice carrying across the nearby conversations. "Still the most beautiful woman in any room." I laughed, holding my phone at the perfect angle to catch both of us in frame. Felix Bran, still the biggest flatterer. What happened next felt choreographed, even though we hadn't planned it. Felix opened his arms wide and pulled me into a hug that lasted several seconds longer than appropriate. His hands lingered on my waist as he leaned back to look at me. "Looking good, babe," he said, his voice projecting just enough for the phone's microphone to pick up clearly. I could hear a few gasps and nervous laughs from the people around us. Perfect. This was exactly the kind of authentic moment that would get shared and reshared. "Felix, you haven't changed a bit," I replied, keeping my voice light and playful. From the corner of my eye, I could see Owen standing frozen. His face had gone completely blank, but his hands were clenched at his sides. Arthur, my father, looked uncomfortable and kept glancing between Owen and me. Naomi, Owen's sister, had stopped mid-conversation with another parent and was staring at us with obvious disapproval. But the reactions were exactly what I'd hoped for. This was real drama, real emotion, and my phone was capturing every second of it. "We should catch up sometime," Felix said, still standing closer than necessary. "Maybe grab coffee and talk about old times." "That sounds wonderful," I replied, aware that my phone was still recording and that at least a dozen people were watching our interaction. Owen finally moved. He walked over slowly, his expression carefully controlled. "Felix," he said simply, extending his hand for a handshake. "Owen, good to see you, man," Felix replied, shaking hands, but keeping his other arm around my waist. "You're a lucky guy. Married to this one." I could feel Owen's discomfort radiating from him, but he just nodded politely. "Yes, I am." The moment stretched awkwardly until Piper ran over, breaking the tension. "Mummy, they're about to announce the raffle winners," she said, tugging on my dress. Of course, sweetheart, I said, finally stepping away from Felix and ending the recording. We should go find our seats. As we walked toward the main seating area, I quickly uploaded the video to my social media accounts with the caption, "When you run into your ex at a school event and your husband handles it like a gentleman. Some people never change. Married life, N, school fundraiser, N, authentic." Within minutes, my phone started buzzing with notifications, likes, comments, shares. The engagement was incredible. People were commenting with laughing emojis, tagging their friends, sharing their own stories about awkward encounters with exes. "This is already getting so much attention," I whispered to Greta, showing her my phone screen. "I'm so proud of you for being confident," she whispered back. "Too many women let their husbands make them feel insecure about their past." But when I looked over at Owen, he was staring straight ahead at the stage, his hands folded in his lap. He hadn't said a word since our encounter with Felix. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of raffle announcements and children's performances. I kept checking my phone, watching the numbers climb. The video was getting shared beyond my immediate network. Friends of friends were commenting, and a few local social media accounts had picked it up. During Piper's class presentation, I noticed Owen wasn't recording like he usually did. He just sat there, watching our daughter sing with the other second graders, his expression unreadable. "Daddy, did you see me sing?" Piper asked when she returned to our table. "You were perfect, sweetheart," Owen said, his voice warm when he spoke to her. But when he looked at me, that warmth disappeared completely. As the evening wound down, I was still riding high from the social media response. The video had been shared over 200 times, and the comments were mostly positive. A few people made jokes about awkward moments, but most praised how real and funny the situation was. "We should head home," Owen said quietly, standing and helping Piper gather her things. "Already? The after-party is just getting started," I said, gesturing toward the group of parents who were clearly planning to continue the evening at someone's house. "Piper has school tomorrow," he replied, not meeting my eyes. During the drive home, Owen was completely silent. Even when Piper chattered about her friends and the games they'd played, he only responded with brief mm-hms and nods. "The video is doing really well," I said, trying to break the tension. "Over 300 shares now. People think it's hilarious." Owen said nothing. "You're not actually upset about Felix, are you? It was just a friendly hello. We dated in college, that was over a decade ago." Still nothing. "Owen, you're being dramatic. Everyone thought it was funny. Even your dad was laughing." That wasn't entirely true. Arthur had looked uncomfortable the entire time, but I needed Owen to understand that his reaction was the problem, not my behavior. When we got home, Owen carried a sleeping Piper to her room while I scrolled through more comments on my phone. The engagement was still climbing, and several people had asked if I was planning to post more real-life content like this. This could be the start of something, I told Owen when he returned to the living room. People love authentic moments. I could build a real following from this. Owen looked at me for a long moment, then picked up his pillow from our bed. "Where are you going?" I asked. "The guest room," he said simply. "Owen, come on. You're really going to sleep in another room because of a harmless interaction with my ex-boyfriend?" He paused in the doorway. "Good night, Lyra." And then he was gone, leaving me alone with my phone and the hundreds of strangers who thought my marriage was entertaining. I woke up the next morning to find Owen already gone. His coffee mug sat in the sink, and there was a note on the counter. "Took Piper to school. We'll pick her up too." Oh. The formal tone stung more than I wanted to admit. Owen never left notes like that. Usually, he'd wake me up with coffee, and we'd discuss the day's schedule together. My phone showed over 1,000 interactions on the party video overnight. The notifications had been pinging constantly, and I'd finally put it on silent around 2 a.m. Now, scrolling through the comments in the bright morning light, I felt a surge of validation. This is hilarious. Your husband's face, though. Girl, you handled that perfectly. Some men are so insecure. Love how real this is. Most people would have edited this out. Your ex is cute. I can see why this was awkward, LOL. I screenshotted some of the best comments to share in my stories. This kind of engagement was exactly what I needed to build a real social media presence. Authenticity was currency online, and I'd struck gold. But there were other comments too, ones that made my stomach twist slightly. This seems really disrespectful to your husband. I'd be mortified if my wife posted something like this. That poor man, you can see how uncomfortable he is. I deleted those comments quickly. Negative people always tried to drag down others' success. They didn't understand that modern relationships required confidence and trust. Around noon, my mother called. Lyra, I've been showing the video to everyone at my book club, Greta said, her voice bubbling with excitement. Margaret thinks you should start a blog about marriage and authenticity. You're so brave for being yourself. I'm glad you think so. Owen's being weird about it. Men always get dramatic about these things, she said dismissively. Your father was the same way when we were younger. They forget that we had lives before them. Owen will get over it. He slept in the guest room last night. Good, let him pout. You did nothing wrong, honey. You were friendly to an old friend at a public event. If Owen can't handle that, it's his problem, not yours. Her words reinforced what I already knew. I hadn't done anything inappropriate. The video showed exactly what happened. A friendly greeting between two people who used to date. If Owen was insecure about that, it reflected poorly on him, not me. When Owen came home that evening, he went straight to Piper's room to help with homework. I could hear them talking about math problems and reading assignments, their voices carrying the easy warmth that had been missing from our interactions. How was work? I asked when he finally came to the kitchen. Fine, he replied, opening the refrigerator and studying its contents like they held the secrets of the universe. The video hit 2,000 shares today. A local lifestyle blogger reached out about featuring it in her weekly roundup. Owen closed the refrigerator without taking anything out. That's great, Lyra. His tone was flat, emotionless. I'd heard him use the same voice when dealing with difficult customers at his accounting firm. You're really going to keep acting like this? It was one interaction, Owen. A 30-second conversation with someone I dated over 10 years ago. I'm not acting like anything, he said calmly. I'm just tired. You're being passive-aggressive. If you have something to say, just say it. Owen looked at me directly for the first time since coming home. What would you like me to say, Lyra? The question caught me off guard. I'd expected anger, jealousy, demands that I delete the video. Instead, he seemed genuinely curious about what response I wanted from him. I'd like you to act like an adult, I said. I'd like you to understand that I'm building something here. This video is getting real attention, and that could lead to opportunities for our family. Opportunities, he repeated slowly. Yes, influencer partnerships, sponsored content, maybe even a book deal eventually. People respond to authentic content about real relationships. Owen nodded thoughtfully. And Felix, is he part of this authentic content strategy? What do you mean? Are you planning to see him again? For coffee, like he suggested? The question felt like a trap, but I couldn't figure out what the right answer was. Owen's expression gave nothing away. I don't know. Maybe. We're both adults, Owen. We can be friends. Of course, he said. That makes sense. Then he walked away, leaving me standing in the kitchen feeling like I'd somehow failed a test I didn't know I was taking. Later that night, I found Owen in his home office, printing something. The small room off our living room had always been his space. Filing cabinets full of tax documents, a desk covered with neat stacks of papers, family photos on the walls. What are you working on so late? I asked from the doorway. He looked up from the printer, quickly gathering the pages it had produced. Just some paperwork. What kind of paperwork? Nothing important, he said, sliding the documents into a manila folder and placing it in his desk drawer. Then he locked the drawer and pocketed the key. I'd never seen Owen lock anything in his desk before. We'd always had complete access to each other's spaces, each other's documents. The locked drawer felt like a wall going up between us. "Owen, what's going on? You're acting strange." "I'm just organizing some files," he said, shutting down his computer, "getting things in order." "What things?" But he was already turning off the lights, effectively ending the conversation. That night, he slept in the guest room again. I lay in our king-size bed, scrolling through more comments on my video, trying to recapture the excitement I'd felt that morning. The numbers were still climbing, but Owen's weird behavior was casting a shadow over my success. Around midnight, I heard him moving around in his office again. The printer ran for several minutes, followed by the sound of drawers opening and closing. When I got up to investigate, I found the office door closed and locked. Owen had never locked that door before. In 8 years of marriage, it had always been open, a shared space where I could use his computer or grab supplies from his desk drawers. Now it felt like a fortress, and I was on the outside. The next morning brought another note. "Early meeting. We'll call you later." Oh. But he didn't call, and when I tried to log into our shared bank account to check on some automatic payments, I discovered the password had been changed. The video reached 5,000 shares by Wednesday morning, but the comments were becoming increasingly divided. What started as mostly positive responses had evolved into heated debates about marriage, respect, and social media boundaries. "This is what's wrong with modern marriages. No boundaries. She's just being friendly. Her husband needs to get over himself." I feel so bad for that man. The humiliation on his face is heartbreaking. Love this authentic content. More wives should be this confident. I found myself spending hours responding to comments, defending my actions, and blocking users who left particularly harsh criticism. The engagement was incredible, but managing it was becoming a full-time job. That's when my manager at work called me into her glass office. "Lyra, we need to talk," Jennifer Martinez said, closing the door behind me. "I've been getting calls about a video you posted." My stomach dropped. "Calls from who?" "Clients. Apparently it's been shared in some local community groups, and your name is attached to our company in your bio." I'd forgotten about that detail. My social media profiles listed me as an administrative assistant at Martinez & Associates, a small accounting firm that prided itself on discretion and professionalism. "It's just a personal video from a school event," I said. "It has nothing to do with work." Jennifer pulled up the video on her computer screen. "Lyra, I've watched this several times, and I've read through the comments. Some of our clients are concerned about the judgment and professionalism of our staff. That's ridiculous. I'm not doing anything inappropriate in the video." "That's not the point," she said, pausing the video on a frame where Felix's hands were clearly visible around my waist. "The point is that you're representing our firm publicly, and this content reflects on all of us. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to either remove the company name from your social media profiles or take down the video. We can't have clients questioning our staff's personal judgment." The ultimatum felt like a punch to the gut. The video was my biggest success, my entry point into real influencer territory. Taking it down would mean losing all the momentum I'd built. "I'll remove the company name," I said finally. "Good. And Lyra, maybe think twice before posting content like this in the future. Social media can have consequences you don't expect." Walking back to my desk, I felt the weight of my coworkers' stares. The office was small enough that everyone had probably heard about my meeting with Jennifer. Sarah from accounting gave me a sympathetic smile, but Mike from payroll avoided eye contact entirely. During lunch break, I called my mother for support. "They're just jealous," Greta said immediately. "Small-minded people always try to tear down others who are brave enough to be authentic. Don't let them dim your light, honey." But what if this affects my job? Then find a better job. You're getting real attention now, Lyra. That video has opened doors. Don't let scared people close them. Her confidence bolstered me enough to get through the afternoon, but when I got home, I found Owen in the kitchen with Piper, helping her with a school project about family traditions. "Daddy, what's our family tradition?" Piper was asking, carefully gluing pictures onto poster board. "Well, we always have pancakes on Sunday mornings," Owen said, "and we read together before bed every night." "What about the parties? Mommy likes the parties." Owen's hand stilled on the glue stick. "What parties, sweetheart?" "The ones where she talks to her friend and everyone takes pictures." I felt heat rise in my cheeks. "Piper, that was just one party. And Felix isn't exactly a friend. He's someone Mommy used to know." "But you said you wanted to have coffee with him," Piper said innocently. "Like friends do." Owen looked at me sharply. "You've discussed this with Piper?" "No, of course not. She just overheard." "I was right there when he asked you," Owen said quietly. "And I was right there when you said yes." I said it sounded nice. That's not the same as making plans. Isn't it? The question hung in the air between us while Piper continued working on her project, oblivious to the tension. That evening, after Piper was asleep, I tried to bridge the growing gap between Owen and me. "I had a rough day at work," I said, sitting on the couch next to him. "Jennifer made me remove the company name from my social profiles because of the video." Owen looked up from his tablet. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you?" "Because you don't sound sorry." "I'm sorry you had a difficult day, Lyra. I'm always sorry when you're upset." His careful word choice frustrated me. "But you're not sorry about the video causing problems." "I think the video speaks for itself," he said, returning his attention to the tablet. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I don't need to have opinions about your choices. You're an adult, and you make your own decisions." The detached tone was worse than anger would have been. At least anger would have shown he cared enough to fight with me. "Owen, we need to talk about what's happening between us." "What's happening?" "You're sleeping in another room. You changed our bank password without telling me. You're locking your office door. You're treating me like a stranger." Owen set down his tablet and looked at me directly. "Lyra, what would you like me to do differently?" Again with that question, it felt like he was asking me to write a script for him, to tell him how to react to my behavior. "I'd like you to talk to me. I'd like you to tell me what you're thinking." "I'm thinking that you posted a video of yourself being intimate with another man, and that video has been viewed by thousands of people, including our daughter's classmates' parents, your co-workers, and our families." "Intimate?" "Owen, it was a hug. It was a long hug where he called you babe and suggested meeting for coffee, which you agreed to, all while I stood there and watched." "You're making it sound worse than it was." "Am I? Because I've watched the video, Lyra, several times. I've read the comments. I've seen how other people interpret what happened." "Other people don't matter. What matters is what actually happened, and what actually happened was innocent." Owen nodded slowly. "If you say so." "I do say so, and I'd like my husband to trust me enough to believe me." "Of course," he said, picking up his tablet again. "I believe you know what happened." The conversation felt like trying to grab smoke. Every time I thought I understood his position, it shifted into something else. That night, he slept in the guest room again, and when I checked his office door before bed, it was still locked. By Friday, the video had reached 8,000 shares, but the momentum was shifting in ways I hadn't anticipated. What started as viral content was becoming a case study in online judgment. Relationship bloggers were using it as an example of social media destroying marriages, while others defended it as authentic representation of modern relationships. I was becoming internet famous, but not entirely in the way I'd hoped. Naomi texted me that morning. "We need to talk. Can you meet for lunch?" Owen's sister had always been protective of him, sometimes to an annoying degree. She was 2 years younger, but acted like she was his mother, always offering unsolicited advice about our marriage and finances. "I can't today," I replied. "Busy with work stuff." "It's about Owen and Piper. This can't wait." The urgency in her message made me nervous, but I agreed to meet at the cafe near my office. Naomi was already there when I arrived, her expression serious as she stirred her coffee. "Thanks for coming," she said. "I wasn't sure you would." "What's this about?" "It's about that video and what it's doing to my brother." I felt my defenses rise immediately. "Naomi, I know you mean well, but this is between Owen and me." "Is it? Because Piper called me yesterday asking why her daddy seems sad all the time." The words hit harder than I expected. "Piper called you?" "She's 7, Lyra. She doesn't understand why her parents aren't sleeping in the same room, or why her dad goes quiet whenever someone mentions the party. Owen's being dramatic. I haven't done anything wrong." Naomi pulled out her phone and showed me the video. "Watch this again, but this time watch Owen's face." I'd seen the video hundreds of times, but I'd always focused on Felix and me, on how we looked, on the comments about our interaction. Now, watching Owen in the background, I saw something different. The moment Felix called me babe, Owen's expression changed completely. It wasn't anger or jealousy, it was something deeper. Hurt, betrayal, the look of someone watching their worst fear play out in public. "He looks devastated," Naomi said quietly. "He looks surprised. Anyone would be surprised." "Lyra, my brother has been worried about Felix since you started following him on social media 6 months ago." I felt my face flush. I follow lots of people on social media. "You like every photo he posts. You comment on his music videos. Owen's noticed." "That doesn't mean anything. I support local artists." "Do you? Because you don't like or comment on any other local musician's content, just Felix." The accusation hung between us like a challenge. I wanted to deny it, but Naomi was right. I had been paying special attention to Felix's posts, not because I wanted to rekindle anything, but because he represented a version of myself that felt exciting and free. Even if that's true, it doesn't justify Owen's behavior this week. "What behavior? Being quiet? Moving to the guest room?" "Lyra, what did you expect him to do?" "I expected him to trust me. I expected him to understand that the past is the past." "But you're not treating it like the past, are you? You're planning to have coffee with Felix." "Maybe. I don't know. We haven't made definite plans." Naomi stared at me for a long moment. "Do you want to save your marriage?" The question should have been easy to answer, but sitting there in the cafe, I realized I wasn't sure anymore. The attention from the video, the excitement of building a social media presence, the thrill of reconnecting with Felix, it all felt more alive than my quiet life with Owen. "Of course I do," I said finally. "Then delete the video, apologize to Owen, and stop talking to Felix." "I'm not going to delete the video. It's gotten thousands of views. This could be the start of something big for me." "And what about your marriage? What about Piper?" "They'll be fine. Owen just needs time to adjust to the idea that I'm building something for myself." Naomi shook her head sadly. "You really don't see it, do you? This isn't about your career or your social media presence. This is about respect, and right now, you're not showing any to your husband." She left money on the table and walked away, leaving me alone with my coffee and my justifications. That weekend, I suggested we have a family lunch at Piper's favorite restaurant, a kid-friendly place with crayons and coloring placemats. I thought getting out of the house might help reset our family dynamic. "This is nice," I said as we waited for our food. "We should do this more often." Owen nodded politely, helping Piper color a picture of a dinosaur. "Daddy, are you and Mommy getting divorced?" Piper asked suddenly, her crayon frozen mid-stroke. The question came from nowhere, hitting the table like a bomb. "Why would you ask that, sweetheart?" Owen said gently. "Because Tommy's parents got divorced, and his dad moved to the guest room first, and his mom was always on her phone, like Mommy." I felt the blood drain from my face. Piper, Mommy and Daddy are not getting divorced. We're just working through some things. But you don't sleep in the same bed anymore. Owen and I exchanged glances across the table. This conversation was happening in a public restaurant, with families, at nearby tables, potentially listening to our 7-year-old daughter discuss our marriage problems. Sometimes grown-ups need space to think, Owen said carefully. That doesn't mean we don't love each other, or that we don't love you. But Tommy's dad said the same thing, and then he moved to an apartment. The rest of lunch passed in uncomfortable silence, punctuated only by Piper's questions about whether she'd have to choose which parent to live with, like her friend Tommy. On the drive home, Owen was quiet until we pulled into our driveway. I'll pack a bag for Piper, he said. She's spending the night at Naomi's. Why? Because she needs a break from whatever this is, he said, gesturing between us. And because Naomi offered to take her to the Children's Museum tomorrow. You planned this without asking me. I'm asking you now. Can Piper spend the night at her aunt's house? The way he phrased it made it impossible to say no without seeming unreasonable. Fine, but I don't like making decisions about our daughter without discussing them first. Neither do I, he said quietly. While Owen packed Piper's overnight bag, I went to his office to see if I could figure out what he'd been working on so late at night. The door was unlocked for once, but when I tried to open his filing cabinets, they were secured with small padlocks I'd never seen before. His desk drawers were locked too. The computer required a password I didn't know. Even the small safe where we kept important documents had been moved. I could see the outline on the carpet where it used to sit, but it was nowhere to be found. Owen had systematically secured every piece of information in his office, locking me out completely. When he returned from dropping Piper at Naomi's, I was waiting in the living room. We need to talk, I said. Okay. What are you planning, Owen? All the locked doors, the changed passwords, the secret meetings downtown that I saw on your calendar. He sat down across from me, his expression calm. I'm not planning anything, Lyra. I'm preparing. Preparing for what? For whatever comes next. And what do you think comes next? Owen looked at me for a long moment. I think that depends on you. Sunday morning arrived without the usual pancake tradition Piper had mentioned in her school project. Owen was already up and dressed when I came to the kitchen, sitting at the table with his laptop and a stack of manila folders. Where's Piper? I asked. Still at Naomi's. I thought we could use the time to talk. But when I sat down across from him, Owen closed his laptop and gathered his folders. Actually, I have some errands to run, he said. We can talk later. What errands? Just some things I need to take care of downtown. I'd seen those downtown appointments on his calendar for weeks now, always scheduled when I was at work or busy with Piper. The mystery was driving me crazy. Owen, what's downtown? Your office is here in the suburbs. All our banks are local. What could you possibly need to do downtown every week? Legal stuff, he said simply, then walked away before I could ask more questions. Legal stuff. The words echoed in my head as I sat alone in our kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of our Sunday morning routine. What kind of legal stuff required weekly meetings? I spent the day scrolling through social media, trying to recapture the excitement I'd felt when the video first went viral. But the engagement was dropping off, and the comments were becoming increasingly negative. Several relationship experts had shared the video as an example of public humiliation in marriage, and their followers were not kind. This woman has no respect for her husband. I hope he divorces her and takes the kid. She's probably cheating. That's not how you act with an ex when you're happily married. I deleted the harshest comments and blocked the users, but they kept coming. For every person defending my right to be friendly with an ex, 2 more criticized my judgment and character. By evening, when Owen returned with Piper, I was in a foul mood. How was the museum? I asked Piper as she hugged me. Really fun. Aunt Naomi bought me a book about dinosaurs, and we saw a movie about space. That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. But as Piper chatted about her overnight adventure, I noticed Owen unpacking a small box from his car. When I looked closer, I could see it contained more file folders and what looked like USB drives. "What's in the box?" I asked, after Piper went to her room to play. "Just some documents I needed to organize." "What kind of documents?" Owen paused in the hallway, the box balanced in his arms. "Lyra, do you remember when we got married and we talked about always being honest with each other?" The question seemed to come from nowhere. "Of course. Do you remember promising to forsake all others?" "Owen, what does that have to do with—" "Do you remember promising to honor and respect each other?" "Yes, but I don't understand why you're—" "I'm just trying to remember what we promised each other," he said, "because sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who remembers." Then he carried the box to his office and locked the door behind him. That night, I tried a different approach. I put on the lingerie Owen used to love, lit candles in our bedroom, and waited for him to finish his nightly routine. But when bedtime came, he appeared in the doorway, already dressed in pajamas, carrying his pillow. "Owen, please, can we just talk? Really talk?" He looked at me sitting on our bed in the flickering candlelight, and for a moment, his expression softened. "What would you like to talk about?" "Us, our marriage, what's happening between us." Owen sat on the edge of the bed but kept his distance. "Okay. I feel like you're pulling away from me, and I don't understand why. The thing with Felix was innocent. I've never cheated on you. I've never even thought about cheating on you." "I know," he said quietly. "Then why are you acting like I've betrayed you somehow?" Owen was quiet for a long time, staring at his hands. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because you have betrayed me, Lyra. Maybe not physically, but in every other way that matters. That's not fair. Isn't it? You've been flirting with your ex-boyfriend online for months. You orchestrated a public encounter with him at our daughter's school event. You recorded it and shared it with thousands of people, including footage of my humiliation. You agreed to meet him for coffee. And through all of this, you've shown more concern for your social media engagement than for your husband's feelings. Each point hit like a physical blow. I wasn't flirting online. I was being supportive of a local artist. Show me your message history with Felix." The request caught me off guard. "What?" "Your DMs, your text messages, your comments on his posts. Show me all of it right now and prove that you were just being supportive." I felt my face flush. I had deleted most of the more flirtatious exchanges, but Owen's challenge made me realize how that would look. "I don't have to prove anything to you. You should trust me." Owen nodded slowly. "You're right. I should trust you, just like you should respect me. But we're both failing at what we should do, aren't we?" He stood up, pillow in hand. "Owen, please don't go. Stay here tonight. Let's work through this." "I can't," he said, "because tomorrow morning you're going to wake up and check your phone. You're going to read comments about that video, maybe respond to a few. You might even post something new. And I'm going to watch you prioritize the opinions of strangers over the feelings of your husband, just like you have every day since that party." "That's not true." "Isn't it? When was the last time you asked how I was feeling? When was the last time you considered how your actions might affect me or Piper? When was the last time you chose our family over your online image?" I opened my mouth to argue, but no words came. Because he was right. I had been prioritizing the video's success over everything else. "I love you, Lyra," Owen said from the doorway, "but I can't keep watching you choose everyone else over us." After he left, I blew out the candles and lay in the dark, thinking about his words. I could hear him moving around in his office again. The printer running, drawers opening and closing. Around midnight, I crept to the office door and listened. Owen was on the phone with someone, his voice too low to make out words, but the tone was serious and businesslike. Who was he calling so late at night? The next morning brought another formal note. "Early appointment. Piper's lunch is packed. Will call about pickup." "Oh." but this time he didn't call. When I went to pick up Piper from school, I found Owen already there, talking quietly with her teacher. "Daddy!" Piper ran to him, and I watched him scoop her up with the first genuine smile I'd seen from him in days. "How was your day, sweetheart?" "Good. Mrs. Johnson said we're going to start a project about families next week." Owen's smile faltered slightly. "That sounds interesting." As we walked to our cars, Owen had driven separately. Piper skipped between us, chattering about her upcoming project. "I'm going to write about our pancake Sundays," she said, "and about how Daddy reads to me every night, and about Mommy's videos." "What about Mommy's videos?" Owen asked carefully. "How she's famous now. All the other kids have seen the one from the party. Emma's mom said Mommy is really pretty and that the man at the party was handsome too." Owen stopped walking. "Emma's mom said what?" "She said Mommy looked really happy in the video and that the handsome man seemed nice." I felt sick. Piper's classmates' parents were discussing my video, analyzing my behavior, commenting on my appearance, and Felix's attractiveness. Our 7-year-old daughter was hearing adult conversations about her mother's online content. "Piper," Owen said gently, "what else have people said about Mommy's video?" "Mrs. Patterson said it was inappropriate, but Emma's mom said she was just jealous because she's not pretty enough to make videos." The schoolyard gossip was worse than I'd imagined. Parents were taking sides, debating my behavior, and doing it all within earshot of their children. Owen looked at me across the top of Piper's head, and I saw something in his expression that hadn't been there before. Not hurt or anger, but resignation. "Piper, why don't you get in Daddy's car?" he said. "I need to talk to Mommy for a minute." After she was buckled in with the radio playing, Owen turned to me. "This ends now," he said quietly. "What ends?" "All of it. The video, the social media circus, the public humiliation of our family. It ends now." "Owen, you can't just demand that I'm not demanding anything, Lyra. I'm telling you what's going to happen next." Something in his tone made me step back. This wasn't the quiet, reserved Owen I'd been living with for the past 2 weeks. This was someone I didn't recognize. "Tomorrow morning, you're going to receive some documents," he said. "I suggest you read them carefully." "What kind of documents?" But he was already getting in his car, already driving away with our daughter, leaving me standing in the school parking lot with a growing sense that everything was about to change. My husband warned me I'd get documents, but I still didn't believe he'd really leave. The next morning, in front of the courthouse, his lawyer handed me divorce papers, and Owen calmly laid out everything he'd collected: my viral party video with Felix, months of flirty messages, even my deleted texts from our shared phone backup. While I was chasing likes, views, and the rush of attention, he was quietly building a custody case and planning a life without me. Standing there on the Civic Plaza steps clutching the petition, I finally understood that my influencer moment hadn't made me special. It had cost me my marriage, my family, and the quiet stability I'd taken for granted. And this time there was no delete button.